Good morning, friends, and welcome back. And if you're new here, my name is Kim. I want to thank everybody for joining me on this Sunday morning. Today is Sunday and it is Father's Day, so I figured I would get in the kitchen early this morning and make my husband a special treat for breakfast. Today I'm going to be making these delicious apple cream cheese mini strudels. They are so good and really easy to make, so let's get started. Okay, so I'm just going to start off. I'm going to peel 4 Granny Smith apples. Okay, I've got these all peeled up now. And now I'm just going to take each apple and I'm going to halve them. And then I'm going to quarter them. And then I'm just going to cut at an angle to cut the core out of each one of them. You just want to make sure and get the seeds and the core out of all of them. And then I'm going to slice these into just slices. And I'm going to cut them into about 1/4-inch slices. We want these pretty small pieces so they could fit inside of our little mini strudels. And then I'm just going to dice them up. And the pieces are about half inch big. And get all these diced up. Now, if you don't have apples on hand and you want to cheat a little bit, you can use apple pie filling for this in a can. It works great. I've tried it before and it works. Tastes just as good. Okay, in my frying pan, I'm just going to add a tablespoon of butter. And we're going to get that melted. And then I'm going to add the apples to the pan. And get all these in there. And get these stirred up. And like I said, if you don't want to use regular apples, you can use pie filling. You can even use cherry pie filling or raspberry if you want to make a different flavor. Strawberries work great too. Just slice them up. Okay, so I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. And then I'm going to add 1/4 cup of brown sugar. We're going to get this all stirred up and we're going to let it cook for just a minute until this sugar dissolves. Okay, now our sugar is all dissolved. All I'm going to do is I've got this on about medium heat. I'm going to put a lid on it and I'm going to let it cook for about 3 or 4 minutes just so the apples are nice and tender and some of that liquid dissolves. Okay, now the apples are all nice and cooked. They're all nice and tender. Most of that has dissolved. So I'm just going to pull them out of the pan and I'm going to set them aside, let them cool off. And now in my stand mixer, I have 8 ounces of softened cream cheese, a 1/2 cup of sugar, and then I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. And if you don't have a stand mixer, you can just mix it up by hand, or you can even use a hand mixer. But we're going to get this all nice and mixed up. I'm just going to start it out on a lower speed, and then I'll turn it up. And about halfway through, I'm going to stop and I'm going to scrape down the sides, make sure we get everything mixed up, knock some of this off the whisk, and then just mix it for about 2 minutes more. It only takes about 4 minutes to mix it all up. Okay, I just have 1 can of crescent roll dough, and I'm going to get this rolled out, and I've got a piece of parchment here. I've got it on my cutting board, and this has got a little hole in it, so if you got a hole in it, just pinch it together, kind of stretch it out, make sure it's nice and rectangle. And you can just eyeball this if you want. I can't find my ruler, so I'm using my husband's tape measure. Now, this is about 8.5 inches wide. So I'm just going to cut it, I'm going to mark it, and I'm going to cut it at about 4 1/4 inches. We're going to cut this into 6 pieces because we're going to make 6 strudels. But you can just eyeball it. I'm just kind of trying to make them even. And then I'm going to measure the other direction. After I cut this in half, I'm just using my pizza cutter. You can use a knife if you want. The pizza cutter just, it doesn't seem to cut the parchment paper underneath. If you tend to use a knife, just be gentle because it will get the parchment paper underneath. And then I'm just going to measure this way. And it's about 14 inches long. So I'm going to make 3 marks at about about 4 3/4 inches long. Just a little over 4.5 inches each. And just kind of try to cut this into the 6 even pieces. It doesn't have to be perfect. Once they're baked, they poof up and you'll never tell the difference. And I'm going to take each sheet. I've just got a cookie sheet that's lined with parchment paper. And I'm just going to kind of put them here and get them square. And if you got any holes, just pinch it together. The dough is really forgiving. Okay, now I'm going to take my pizza cutter and I'm going to cut 5 diagonal slits on each side. And they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to all be the same. You'll never notice once it's baked because it's going to poof up in the oven and everything bakes together. So if they don't look real pretty while you're putting them together, don't worry about it. You won't notice it once it's baked. Everything bakes together. So I'm just going to do 5 slits, and each one of these slits are about 1 inch wide. Okay, now I'm going to take our cream cheese filling we made, and I'm just going to spread an even layer, and we're going to stay right down the middle of the slits. If you get a little bit on the side, don't worry about it. It won't run out. The cream cheese bakes up and it's pretty thick inside. And I'm just going to put about 1/4 inch thick on each one. I'm just going to kind of spread this out so it's a little flat. Don't have to be precise. Okay, now we're going to take our apples, and I'm going to put about 3 or 4 tablespoons in each one. I kind of just eyeballed it on the plate so I know that I need to divide what's on the plate by 6. So I think it works out to about 3 big tablespoons. We're just going to get all this filling on here. And if you've never tried these before, you've got to try them. They are so good. The apple cream cheese mixture together is so good. And it's not real sweet. You could add more sugar if you want a little bit sweeter, but I don't think it needs any more. Okay, so I'm going to just start with the bottom corner, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to kind of stretch it so it's long. And I'm going to kind of go diagonal, and I'm just going to push it down and pinch it so it kind of seals itself there. And then we'll take the opposite corner and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go at a diagonal and stretch it a little bit because it won't fit if you don't stretch it. And then pinch it down so it seals there. And then I'm going to take the end, and I did wash my hands right before I did this. They are clean. Okay, I'm going to push that filling in a little bit, and I'm just going to take this end and I'm going to tuck it up just to hold that filling in. And then I'm going to pinch this seam together just to hold the filling in. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to grab one piece and we're going to stretch it over. It's kind of like braiding hair. And we're just going to continue all the way up. Grab another piece and stretch it over. And if your dough tears while you're stretching it, don't worry about it. Just pinch it back together and just pull it back over. You'll never know once it's all baked. I'm just going to keep going. You can see it just tore right here. So I'm just going to kind of pinch it together. And I'm just going to keep pulling it over and pinching it down. Just kind of tuck it under. And the dough does tear pretty easy, so. Okay. I'm going to get this one pulled over. And I'm going to tuck in a little bit of the filling. I'm going to get that pulled over. And then this last piece, I'm just going to kind of wrap it around the end just to hold that filling in the end. And just kind of tuck it down and push it together. And there we go. The first strudel is done. Okay, so I'm just going to keep cutting these, and I'm going to keep getting them filled. And this is a really easy recipe. It kind of looks deceiving, but don't worry about it. From start to finish, the whole thing took me maybe about 45 minutes, and that was including bake time. So it's not bad at all. You can make them the night before, and then they're ready for breakfast. They taste better if you let them cool off a little bit. If you eat them warm, they kind of fall apart, so I would let them sit. I let them sit for about an hour this morning before my husband got up, and he had a cup of coffee, and then second cup of coffee I gave him a Danish, so he was happy. He had a good Father's Day so far. But like I said, you can put any kind of fruit in this you want. You can use any kind of pie filling. You could probably even do it with a pumpkin if you want to try pumpkin cream cheese. There's all kinds of possibilities out there. Okay, so I just have an egg that I'm mixing up. And we're just going to lightly brush the tops of all of these. It'll give it a nice golden color when it bakes. I'm just going to put a light layer on all these. And then I'm just going to take just a little bit of sugar. You don't need much because there is the sugar inside. Plus we're going to put a glaze on these in just a minute. I'm just going to put a light sprinkling over the top. Okay, they're out of the oven. I baked them at 375 for 12 minutes. Just check them at 10 minutes. I checked them, and then I had to put them back in for about 2 minutes until they were done. And don't they look delicious? I wish you were here. I wish you could smell them. I would give you one. Okay, I'm going to make this glaze. This is a half a cup of powdered sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 3 tablespoons of milk. And I just use whole milk, but you could use any kind of milk you have. Now I'm just going to put a light drizzle over the top of these because we don't like a whole lot of glaze on ours. But if you want, you can put as much glaze as you want. Or you could even leave them without glaze. They do have the sugar on the top, so you don't have to put the glaze on at all. I'm just going to put a little bit of glaze on each one. And then you're going to want to let them sit for, you're going to want them to cool for about 15-20 minutes out of the oven before you put your glaze on. And then after you put your glaze on, let them sit for probably another 15 minutes and the glaze will set up hard. But there you go. They are all baked up and delicious. I want to thank everybody for joining me today, and I hope you get a chance to try these. They are very easy to make, and I'm sure anybody you make them for will love them. So I just want to wish everybody a happy Father's Day, and thank you again for watching and following along with me. And if you like this recipe, please hit the like and the subscribe button if you're new. So I just want to say thank you, and I hope everybody has a great day. Thanks for watching.